What's up? What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and welcome back to another edition of MVP Sports Live right here on twitch.tv/MVP vids. I am joined, as I always am, with my beautiful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And Dave, how you doing today? This wonderful, I've got a little lint on my shirt. This wonderful September 15th, Tuesday.
Doing good. Doing good. Wish I would have got some time to go outside. I've got a lawn that is now unruly.
It was nice out today.
I have not been outside in about 4 days. I look to see outside eventually, Maybe I'll get out there tomorrow. Who knows? Yeah, I got to cut the lawn. It's getting long.
When's the last time you cut the lawn?
It's been a long time.
Because I was going to say, didn't the last time, you showed up at home and your mom was like, oh, I'll cut it for you.
Oh, that was in early summer.
Because your mom likes to do that for exercise and shit.
She was, that was in fucking June though.
Oh, okay.
Well, June.
Some would say simpler times. Some would say harder times.
No,
some would say we're in the same times.
Yeah, it's definitely the same times. I mean, not much has changed. But if you look around, apparently we've just decided as a nation that we don't give a shit about Corona. And we're just going to keep doing us.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. But
as Soapy started, it is a joke for people who don't know. But
mask
bad. Even though when we say that, we're really saying mask good. Wear a fucking mask. But we're going to talk about some sports topics today. We're not going to talk. Shouldn't say we're not going to talk COVID.
That's
we're kind of going to talk COVID.
That's why I brought it up.
We're going to talk about college football because people are idiots. We're going to talk about basketball, football, housekeeping to get it out of the way. Number one, join the Discord. It's a great community for everyone in the Real MVP family to talk about everything that we love. Sports, non-sports, it's all there in one place. YouTube, the link is down below in the description. On Twitch, ! Discord at any time gets you that link into Twitch channel. All you gotta do is click it, accept, boom, you're in the Discord. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Number two, if you would like to support the channel, 2 ways you can do that. Number one is go to patreon.com/MVP vids, be a bronze, silver, gold, or platinum tier supporter and help us keep making the videos we love to make while getting things like interacting with the show, the content a week early before anyone else can see it. Stuff like that. And thank you to our Patreon sponsors, Pat Hill and Philly Sean. You can also sub to us on Twitch and get the same rewards that a bronze patron would get, which is access to the voice channels in the Discord, so that when we do a watch along, let's say we're watching Heat Bucks, or we're watching Heat Celtics, or we're going to watch Clippers Lakers or Nuggets Lakers, you guys can be in on that too. See what I did there, Dave? Because you don't know which way it's going to go. But yeah, you can support us either 2 ways. And then, like I said before, we're on Twitch, twitch.tv/MVP vids. But we're also on YouTube, MVP Sports. So go ahead and follow us and sub to us at both places. But Dave, let's start the show proper. Before we get into the basketball stuff, we're going to start the show with, let's kind of recap a little bit and give our thoughts about the 2 Monday night games, the last 2 football games that happened last night.
Wrapping week 1 up in style.
Wrapping week 1 up officially.
I'll be honest, that late game was a little late for me.
It's a little late. Well, good thing you won't have to be that late, because now the rest of them are just 7:30 proper. It's
seriously,
just,
whose idea was it that week 1, I think the game kickoff was at about midnight?
What, for us? No, it was at 9:30, I think.
It felt like midnight.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing that for a couple of years now. It was kickoff was at 9:10 Central Time. So if you're on the East Coast, 10:10, it's kicking off.
That's kind of rough.
Yeah, and usually it's a Pacific team, so like a West Coast kind of a team that's playing, so that they're kicking off at 7 o'clock. Prime time for them, instead of having to kick off at 5 o'clock their time on a Monday. But yeah, I never, when I was a kid, I used to love it because it's like, holy shit, 2 football games in one day. Fantasy, I would kind of wreck
Sunday all over again.
Fantasy, I would kind of wreck myself though, because it's like having to worry about 1 football game when you're up 120 to 87.
And nail biting.
And now you had to deal with both of them. But Mark, I got you this week. Derrick Henry, James Conner didn't do you anything. I won 120 to 90 something. 1-0 in the books, Dave.
Derrick Henry was okay.
Didn't give him enough points to win. That's what I'm saying. Didn't get him enough to win.
Well, early in the game, a lot of people were giving Derrick Henry shit.
Yeah.
Because they apparently didn't understand what happened. And I don't blame them because nobody watched the Titans last year.
There wasn't a lot of offense in that game, though. It was like 7-7 into the fourth quarter.
Right. The problem was the ball didn't move. They just missed a lot of kicks.
Yeah.
Steve Gostkowski gotta work on his kicking game. Literally the worst opening day kickoff performance in NFL Week 1 history.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry.
Are you shocked he hasn't lost his job?
No.
I feel like most teams, especially a team that's like in playoff contention, would be like, no, can't deal with that.
Brand name recognition. He was the kicker for the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a little time for him. Now those chumps over there in Cincinnati, who's faking an injury. Oh, my calf, which calf? I don't even remember which calf I claimed I injured. Like, that shit's hilarious. But no, Gostkowski, he'll be fine. He's going to be.
Yeah, only played in 4 games last year. 4 games in 2019.
He'll bounce back. He'll be fine. But no, I think the first game of the night, Giants-Steelers, great game. I'm glad to see the Steelers were able to get the ball going.
Mm-hmm.
James Conner obviously was not able to move the ball, and then he went out with an injury shortly after. It looked like he tweaked an ankle, I think. From looking at it, I didn't see an injury report. I'll be honest with you. I probably should check that. But from what I had seen on the field, it looked like a swing pass did not go well for him. And a poor tackle. But hey, Ben Roethlisberger, that big motherfucker keeps trucking, right? Like, he took hits. He's limping out there. He doesn't give a shit. Like, on the back, dude, is absolutely his mentality. And I respect the hell out of him for that. So great game by him. Great game by Juju. Benny Snell Jr., again, like standout performances. But that defense.
Yeah.
They're as good as advertised. So
there's a reason why in fantasy they were rated the number 1 defense coming into this year. And looking at the injury reports, Dave, nothing has like how long Connor will be out for.
Okay.
But a lot of fantasy sites are saying pick up Benny Snell Jr.
I understand.
Running back.
Understand. Unfortunate for that defense was unfortunate for Saquon Barkley. Could not run the ball. Would not run the ball.
Yeah.
That man got stumped. I think did he hit 10 yards rushing? I don't think
Saquon? He hit. Let me open up my ESPN app.
Maybe 10 is my guess. It didn't feel like he could move the ball. He was great as a receiver. Still a weapon, but like they could not get their running game together. They need to draft about 7 offensive line.
6 yards. Kingy helped me out too. 6 yards.
Oh.
15 attempts, 6 yards. And he had 60 through the air.
Oh.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem moving forward if they can't get Saquon going.
They need to draft out 7 offensive linemen. That's what the Giants need to get going on. But no, I mean, it was a really good game. And shout out to, what was it, Herb Street and, I forget the other guy's name.
I love fucking Herb Street.
They were great. And then I saw his interview today on my show of the day, Pat McAfee show.
Yeah.
They did like a 15-minute interview with him talking about it. Listen to that man talk. I mean, he's such a smooth talker, and he's so smart, and he understands the game of football at a very deep level, but it feels like he's a translator of sorts.
He was only on for this week, right?
Correct. This was a one and done sort of deal. He did, get a lot of praise online. I had heard. Bring him in. Bring him into the end.
Chris Fowler. They usually do. Do the college football stuff. Yeah.
So that's what he was saying. He was like, "Look, college football's my jam. I enjoyed this. I thought everything went really well, and I would love to do it again. But I will not overtake college football. I understand. Like anytime you want to come back, anytime.
I looked at it and I go, so Kurt Hurt. I get he has a family, and there's probably a time thing of like, hey, if I'm committing all day Saturday to this, I would like at least one day, probably Sunday, because you've got Monday through fucking Friday. He's on all like the fucking like anyone talking college
every
sports.
Show, and then he's studying film.
Exactly. He's studying film. They use him as kind of like Todd and Mel are the draft guys, but then it's like Kurt Herbstreit also knows his shit.
The dude knows every college. Yeah. The guessing game you used to play with what's the mascot for the school? You'd be like, what's the passer from that school who had 2,500 passing yards and a passer rating of this with this touchdown interception ratio? And you'd be like, oh, so and so from that year. Yeah. You're like, the fuck?
Dude's like, where did you pull that from?
College football. It's impressive. So yeah, I mean I think NFL did a wonderful job with Monday night on that end.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't like the late game, and the highlights I saw from the late game, like you said, outside of the missed kicks, there wasn't much to do.
Yeah, and I mean,
run the ball.
But let's move on into what we were originally going to start the show with, Dave. The main one, and it is the Houston Rockets. This probably should, like, if football didn't happen, this would have been our Monday topic, but football happened, so it's probably going to consume our Mondays. And the Rockets and Mike D'Antoni decided to kind of mutually part ways, is what is being reported. Basically, how I read that is his contract ended.
And there was no new contract for him, so
they mutually parted ways, is how I'm reading that. Is where
he dumped that.
Do you think he dumped it, or do you think the Rockets said, "Hey, we're not going to"? Okay.
No, that organization. He was.
Is it because they brought in Russ and didn't talk to him about it? They made
roster moves without talking to him. And as a head coach, when your entire philosophy is set around a certain style of play, and then you take away the second best player on the team and replace him with someone who does not fit that style at all, and like, fuck, make it work. Like James Harden wants him, so it's on you.
Yeah.
Okay. So no, and it's a front office where they're incredibly cheap. They wouldn't make moves when they need to. The reason they didn't have Jimmy Butler was because they would have been over the cap. The reason that they didn't keep Trevor Ariza a couple of years ago when they had that incredible run, I think 2016, 2017.
Was that the one where they missed the 27 threes that year?
Might have been that year. It was 2016 or 2017. Yeah. But yeah, Trevor Ariza could have gone after him, didn't want to pay over the tax. Like, it literally just cheap organization that was at the cusp of greatness. And I would argue that team's peak was the best team in the league at the time. Like Chris Paul, James Harden, Clint Capella, I think were like 33-3 or something for a span. Yeah. Just absolutely disgusting. By far the best team. And that's hella credit to Mike D'Antoni. This man is, he deserves a chance to coach for another championship quality team. The question is right now there's not one available that in a lot of people's minds fits. The Philadelphia 76ers seem to be like the anti-Dan D'Antoni team. None of the shooting from the outside, all of the big men.
But I will say, they're
the best team with an opening, I should say.
Could Mike D'Antoni finally get Ben Simmons to shoot some threes more consistently? Just saying, my guy. Like, could D'Antoni come in and finally be the one to unlock this Ben Simmons that I hear so much about from Sean, and I hear it from Jake? Oh, he can hit a three, and then it's like he never wants to. That's why it's like we get the jokes of so Bleacher Report has this. I just found out about it this week. It's called Role Players. It's basically like Game of Zones, but it's not about Game of Thrones. But it's like basketball parodies and stuff.
Okay.
And one was Fortnite. And the joke they made about Ben Simmons is he had the gun. And he's like, we got to move closer. I can't shoot more than 3 feet.
Nice.
That's the jokes we make, people. Could Dan D'Antoni be the one? Because of this, we'll start with Dan D'Antoni before we talk about who's the better fit for the Rockets. Is that the only job? If Dan D'Antoni is going to go anywhere, it's Philly or bust. Or is there an opening, maybe the Pelicans?
Maybe a certain team in Chicago.
Do you think he would work with? Do you think he would want to come to the Bulls, knowing the Bulls are not a contender right now?
That's the problem. What is it? He is a guy who is turning 70, I believe, this year. He is actually. I think they're looking into a age discrimination case against the Rockets.
Really?
I heard today. Yep. So there might be that going into it, but he is quite old as a head coach. He's not, he doesn't look like he's aging. He still looks like he's in great shape. I have no doubt he will coach until he doesn't want to anymore. It's not a thing where the game is passed by. He's been a revolutionary mind as far as basketball offensive gameplay is considered. So the man can coach wherever he wants to. If he wants to take a rebuild, we're one hell of an opportunity. We've got a brand new front office, hell of a sales job. We got Zach, Kobe. We got all the 3-point shooting you could want with Lowry out there as well. We will shoot lights out. We don't play defense. It's a great, what more? You just got to fix our defense.
If we draft Danny Abdia, it's a guy who, yes, needs to work on his shot a little bit, but it's there and can shoot from the outside and has playmaking ability.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've got a lot of potential. And we have the ability to move a lot of contracts.
P word, Dave. The magical P word.
Yeah. And we got the ability to move contracts, and it feels like we're not locked down to anybody. Like, that's the upside. Is this is a front office where AKME, which I think is just the acronym that we're just referring to them as.
Yeah.
It's no Garpax. It's no Garpax, I'll be honest with you. That just rolled right off the tongue.
Yeah.
But AKME is in a position where they didn't draft any of these players. They didn't pick them. There's no, like, part relationship where they feel obligated to, like, stick it out with them. So if we need to make trades, we need to make cuts, we need to make deals, there's not even, like, a consideration. It's just do it. They're like, no problem. You want to make this move? Let's make this move. So that's the upside for Chicago. I think the Pelicans are interesting because they have that. I mean, they are talented young kids out there. It's just, how long is it going to take to figure out how to play around someone with such a unique skill set as Zion Williamson?
Soapy says the Bulls are his wet dream.
I mean, look, I would love it. And I mean, last week I told you, I was like, look, if the Rockets lose, Mike D'Antoni, come right here, please. He's the best coach available in basketball right now.
Because let's see, the open jobs right now that we know about are the Pelicans have an opening job. Sacramento should have an opening job, but
does not for some reason. That's why every GM has turned them down.
Yeah, that'll probably happen after they get someone in there. I wonder if they're telling basketball operations.
They've had 4 GM interviews, and they've had 4 guys walk away from that.
Because I'm wondering if they're telling people you can't fire Luke Walton before this year.
That is the rumor.
Yeah.
That is the rumor out there. Everyone's saying no.
Why else would people walk? But like we've got, so the Pelicans have an opening, Bulls have an opening,
Pacers,
and then the 76ers. Those are the only 4, right?
4, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean the Nets just filled theirs with Steve Nash.
You are correct. And I don't know that I expect any other head coaches to get fired this year. Nick Nurse, we saw his extension hit today. Good move by them. Obviously, a smart guy. Just a quick shout out to him because I know it was on our board, but I don't really have a ton to say. Like, they still got some growing to do. You know, they were a team that they were hoping Pascal would take a big step, and this year he went backwards in the playoffs from his performance last year. So, got to figure some things out there, but still a very good team. I think the Bucks are the question mark for a lot of people. I think that conversation with Giannis.
I was going to ask you, like,
that's the weird one. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I don't know that the Bucks are locked into Coach Bud.
Well, the thing I was thinking is, does Mike D'Antoni? He's in a tricky situation because obviously these teams that are available right now, the 4 that we listed, they're looking for their guys. And as teams kind of dwindle out, the only team I can think of that has guys associated to it that have been in interview talks are the Miami Heat. Boston doesn't have any coaches that have been like highly sought after. And then both LA teams don't have assistants.
No, the LA teams do.
Do they?
Sam Cassell.
Okay.
Sam Cassell was rumored. Ty Lue was rumored, and so was the third guy. Yeah, but they have.
Okay, because like maybe I'm thinking more of like the names I've heard are like Philadelphia's assistant, Denver's assistants, Miami's assistants, but again, maybe that's just the Bulls.
I mean, shit, the Clippers may have an opening if they lose tonight.
Do you think they fire Doc Rivers if they lose tonight?
Doc Rivers has a horrid playoff record as a head coach. It's incredibly bad in clinching games, as we've seen them just fucking lose over and over in clinching situations. So, I don't know that his job is safe. I think if they lose tonight, there's a big question because you're now down to 1 year and 2 names who can opt out after that year. And then you're just fucked if they do. Yeah, you are out on draft picks. You are on an incredibly tough road if that misses. So you have to be like, Kawhi, Paul, do you really like Doc Rivers? Because that's what it comes down to. That roster is so deep, which is great for the regular season, but in crunch time, it seems like their 6 men of the year are literally killing their team. And that's up to this point. They could redeem themselves tonight. They could redeem themselves if they win and they go forward. But
there's a part of me that thinks there's a part of me that thinks some people may say like, well, hey, like why would you replace Doc Rivers with a coach like Dan Antoni, who yet again has been in situations like this one and has come up short. Now, the little caveats with that. Number one, went up against the Warriors most time, best team in basketball.
Thank you, Soapy.
The Thunder too. Forgot about Billy Donovan not being there.
Billy B.
He's got a relationship with Chris Paul. Like that would work. The only thing I think of is Dan Antoni in a kind of rock and a hard place of the longer I wait, some of these other jobs might get filled if I'm waiting for a Clippers, if I'm waiting for a Bucks.
No.
To like kind of
I think his name is so high on so many people's lists. It's just, what is he looking for?
Yeah.
Is he looking for that project team? Is he looking for a place where in 4 years he can build up a contender and be competing? Or is he looking for a job like maybe the Clippers if it opens, maybe the 76ers, where he can step into a playoff-ready team and compete year one? It's just, what can I do differently than the guy who was there to make a difference and help them over the top? Because I think he is absolutely capable of doing that to either one of those teams.
Because I was going to say, before Soapy brought up the Thunder, because we forgot about theirs being open, when it came to the Rockets playoffs and them not being able to get over the hump, it wasn't Dan Antoni's fault. In my opinion, it's the players' fault. Because it's like we talk about the 27 missed threes, and some people may say, well, that was Dan Antoni's system. Yeah, but the players didn't execute it. This year in the playoffs, like a coach can tell a player what to do, but when you've got Westbrook going out there going, hey, you know what? I'm going to try to force the issue and force myself in, what was it, game 6 against the Thunder? To force it, and it's like it was the players that screwed up. It was the players that lost those series.
I think you have to assign that blame like at worst or at best, like as 60, far as your 40? Argument, maybe 70-30.
Okay.
I think it's closer to 50-50.
Okay.
I think that he has had situations where he could make changes and adapt a little bit better. I think that he has a great plan, and I think that when all the pieces line up, they could be the most dominant team.
In that situation, then, if you're the Clippers, why would you want that? Like, why would you want that if your like problem is Doc Rivers lost in 7. Doc Rivers might not be the coach. Why would you then go to a Dan Antoni who you might have the same problem with?
Doc Rivers has poor rotations as far as the playoffs are concerned. From watching the last couple of times he's been in there, and I think that's the thing that hurts them is they rely on their bench scoring so much in the regular season that when it comes playoff time and those guys are getting absolutely abused out there and are rendered ineffective, they don't have a plan B. They can't be like every night, well, Kawhi and Paul George need to each put up about 30 tonight, and that's how we're going to win our game. And, you know, Pat Bev will play excellent defense and like this and that. It just felt like, here's plan A, and if it doesn't work, we're fucked. And I agree. Dan Antoni, very similar style, but I think that he has more offensive creativity. So, like, their whole system had changed when they went to small ball. And, like, it was like, okay, Russell, when Harden's hurt, you're going to play this incredibly aggro style of offense, downhill run at the basket, attack, kick, attack, kick. That's all you need to do. We will win because everybody has to get sucked in because of the offensive gravity that he provides. And I feel like because he can see that, like, I think he elevates players in a way to make them more successful. Whereas I think Doc is a smart coach and he can scheme things really well, but I don't know that he makes his player, like, he has that like ability to make his players that much better. Yeah. I think he just runs really clean schemes and his players are very good.
Is there, before we move on to the Rockets, if you're putting your money on this is where Dan Antoni is going to end up, where is he coaching next year? If he's coaching next year.
I want him on the Bulls so bad. I tell you. Do I think he'll land there? Probably not. You know, he's just, I don't want to put him onto a team that can't contend in the next like 3 years. And that's so hard to say because right now with contracts that are up after next season, any team technically could. Oh, man. You know what? Fuck it. I'll just say the Bulls. I want him on the Bulls.
Okay. I'm saying 2. I'm saying 1 for
You
sure.
can't. No. You
No.
can't. You just put
All
me
right,
on
all right.
pick a team.
Here's my team, 76ers. Because I think I think that the 76ers are in a crunch right now, and they need a coach. Like, they just moved on from Brett Brown. Yep. They need to find their Steve Kerr. I've been saying it for years, Dave. The prophecy is going to come true. They need to find their Steve Kerr. Is he the Steve Kerr? Maybe. Who knows? But I will say one dark horse is the Thunder. I almost wanted to do, like, the thing that intrigues me with the Thunder is, and yet again, does CP3, how well did CP3 get along with Dan Antoni? If they got along well and CP3 likes him, the Thunder might be like, hey, let's bring him in. They already have a rapport together, like with the leader of this team on the side of the coach, making things easier.
I agree with your reasoning. Mm-hmm. The only reason I didn't go that route was because of the way they parted ways with Billy D. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're not going to keep Chris Paul on that team. I think they're going to sell high on Chris Paul, and they're not aiming to compete next year. That's not to say plans won't change in the value. This isn't there in a trade, and they're going to hold on to him for another year.
Dan Antoni wasn't available at the time.
Do this again, you know?
Mm-hmm. So, maybe now that, hey, this coach is available, maybe now we can compete, changes things. But that's why I lean towards the Sixers. On the other side of the things, the Rockets. Where do they go? And there was a nice article written by it's Michael Shapiro at SI.com, where it's an article all about James Harden's relationship and how basically the next coach that the Rockets bring in has to work well with James Harden.
Agreed.
Here's my thing, though, and this is something that I've been seeing. It's a point that I've been thinking about of, is James Harden the most important relationship here? Or should the Rockets be thinking, we need to bring someone who can reel in Russ? Because to me, the Rockets need to decide one thing first. Mm-hmm. Are they keeping the tandem together? Because I know a lot of things play into it. We gave up so much for Russ, ditching it after a year. How would that look? Then the second thing, what would we get for Russ? Third thing, even before the third is probably before the second, who do we trade, Russ or Harden? It's most likely going to be Russ. They're not going to move on from Harden, in my mind. They need to decide what they're doing with the tandem. But if they keep them together, one thing that I've been seeing is Billy Donovan. And the reason why people are throwing Billy D's name out there for the Rockets is there's no, like one of the articles I read said, there's no such thing as a Westbrook whisperer, but Westbrook was able to have one of his best seasons with Billy Donovan. Now,
statistically, his best season was this past season, though, I think.
But like his MVP,
like from an efficiency standpoint,
yeah.
Like he got better.
Yeah, but like they're saying like his MVP year, and of course the MVP award is kind of like reason for you in our Discord posted a good video about like the misconceptions of the award because it's just voted. Like what, Russ had all the triple doubles, boom, he's the MVP. Does the same thing the next year, oh, we're past you. We're done with that. That's old.
There's a new narrative.
Yeah, there's a new narrative to be written. In your mind, Dave, where do the Rockets go from here? Who's even a guy they target? Because the two names that I'm seeing top of the list for most people are Billy Donovan and Tyronn Lue.
Yeah. I don't quite agree with the idea behind Billy Donovan coming there. He's a guy who literally had 3 MVPs on his team and couldn't win in the playoffs. No, I'm sorry. That wasn't him. It's his predecessor over in OKC. Maybe it was. I always forget the cutover year. Either way, still couldn't win. Had Paul George, had Russell Westbrook.
Billy D's first year was the 3-1 loss to the Warriors.
Okay, so it was, yeah. So they didn't have 3 MVPs, but they still had 2. Mm-hmm. I just look at that team and I go, I don't know if I want that man to be in charge, because even though Russ had a very, very dominant year with him as his head coach, Chris Paul was able to get arguably more success. Mm-hmm. They won games. They competed in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting that Paul George and Russell Westbrook had struggled. So I know the teams weren't one-to-one carbon copies, and there were obviously different pieces there, but it is just kind of funny to think about that. It's like, well, you traded for the guy, and now he's coached Chris Paul, and now you want him to come back and coach Russ again. Like, it's like Bizarro D'Antoni. Like, you're going to have like a weird setup there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a little concerned with that. Billy Donovan's not exactly a genius when it comes to basketball. He just seems like a good coach.
Yeah.
I don't think he is going to do anything revolutionary. I don't think he's going to change the fate of the team. I don't think offensively or defensively he's creative enough to warrant that kind of hype around him. So to land a top shelf job, potentially like what this Rockets team could be, if they're going to keep these guys together, that would be pretty awesome for him. Ty Lue, I think players coach, that's the guy you want to bring in if you're not trying to rock the boat. You're like, hey, we're in a contract situation where our owner is so incredibly cheap. We're not going to pay for anybody else. We're going to run it back. We're going to see how we do. Maybe the ball falls differently this time. Maybe Russ and Harden pop off at the same time, and then they can win. Like, that's the thing. Like, when I watch that team play in the playoffs, you can't tell me that if Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Rocco are all playing at their top level, like, that they can't beat teams in the playoffs. Like, they absolutely can win series in the playoffs with those three players playing at their top level. So I don't know that they necessarily have to change the world if they're sticking with this roster. And I think because of the contract situation, Ty Lue makes a lot of sense because he's a guy who gets on players' sides, who is extremely smart when it comes to, hey, I'm going to be looking out for you. I'm going to be looking out for our team. I'm going to be looking out for every guy as a player because I was there as a player. Yeah. I understand that relationship. It's a very different idea coming from a former player than it is coming from a tenured coach. And I think players treat them differently. I think there's nothing wrong with that. So I like the idea of Ty Lue as the guy who's like, hey, we're gonna keep on course. We're gonna try to make some small changes. And that's all it really needs is small changes. And we're gonna see if we can win ourselves a championship. So he's my leading guy for that job. And I know he was actually tied more closely to the 76ers, but I think the Rockets job is more attractive for him, perhaps.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about Ty Lue, and I know I joke all the time about how he was just a babysitter. LeBron was the coach, but the truth in that is Ty Lue was the perfect, like, even though they only won one finals in that time, he was the perfect coach. He was the perfect coach for that Cavs team because it was basically LeBron's the type of player who can be the floor general out there, be the quarterback on the court, where all I have to do is kind of manage I want to say manage the egos, but like you guys know what I mean, manage the personalities. And then number two, when people get distraught is like clear their mind. When the focus isn't where it needs to be, direct the focus, even if it's LeBron's focus, like directing them in the ways and kind of just managing these superstars. That was his job. My problem with the Rockets is James Harden is not LeBron James. That's my problem, to where I do not think James Harden and Russell Westbrook can work on the court like a LeBron and James Harden, a LeBron and Westbrook, because I don't feel like, for me watching in the playoffs, I don't think Russ and Harden have that rapport where basically Russ looks at Harden and goes, all right, I'm the number 2 to your number 1. We're both equals. And I think that's a problem. And I don't know if that is going to, like, A, I don't think it's going to work. And B, I think even bringing in Ty Lue is not going to make that work.
Couple notes. One, I think that Ty Lue, for all the credit you gave him, the one asterisk I'd have to say is Kevin Love.
Yep.
He's a guy who, I mean, arguably had some issues with Ty Lue, that offense, that organization.
Yeah.
And two is the fact that, well, there are two alphas on that Houston team. If they have a coach to sell them on the fact that it can work, then it can work. Like, that's all it is. It's just I'm not saying you got Jedi mind trick these guys into a situation, but it's like, look, you can both eat. Like, this is not like one guy and one guy only is going to run our team. It's definitely a two-man tandem, and they both have something that complements the other. James Harden has the knack to pull Like his offensive gravity is insane. He's pulling doubles off the bat. How do you capitalize on that? Okay, let me have Russell Westbrook drive, and if the lane situation looks great, then he can go at the basket. If not, he can kick, extra pass. You will have an open shooter. It's just a matter of if that shooter hits those shots. Obviously, there's times when those shots don't fall on wide threes, and they had that issue a lot.
Yeah.
Even with pretty good shooters out there. So it's frustrating, but like I truly believe that tandem works. That is one of the top 5 defenses in the NBA as a team. They are just on a different level. And I think that Ty Lue actually, like of all the teams we've talked about him being available for, I like this team the most. I really do. I think that he's able to come in, be the voice to be on the player side, be the guy who's in the locker room with them. He understands he's going to help them out.
One of the names I hate seeing on lists is Jeff Van Gundy. Only because it's like I feel like Van Gundy is the one where he was a coach in a different era. Like I don't know if he steps into a team and like I don't know if Jeff walks into the future. I know he's been a commentator and he's been around the game and he's seen what the game has morphed into, but coaching is different than being an analyst next to Mark Jackson.
Yeah,
so like
I don't think either one of those guys are getting the job.
Yeah, that's a name.
I don't think Mark Jackson ever coaches again. I don't think that Van Gundy ever and head coaches again.
Yeah.
I should say he's got a sweet gig.
Yeah,
he's got a TV deal. He's calling games. He's talking. He's throwing out his opinions. He's not eating too much garbage for it. So I don't see him ever going back to the head coaching position because as an NBA team, I'm with you. I don't see a lot there to love.
And I know this is going to be obvious when I say it. The other thing I think of is this coaching hire is probably the most crucial hiring of any of the teams.
He was a former Rockets head coach.
He was.
There's no way they hire him back.
He was a former Rockets.
I forgot that that's where he ended. Yeah,
he was with. Wasn't it was that the Charles Scotty?
0307. No, 0307.
Okay.
Maybe that was the last year.
Or was that the T? That was T-Mac on that team by that time.
I don't know. I'd have to look up the fucking.
But
group.
My point is, this is going to be obvious, but I think it's got to be said, is the reason why I feel like this hiring is going to be the most crucial is I feel like the window is closed. Like the door is beginning to shut on the Rockets' championship hopes. Like this core, this duo, James Harden with the Rockets, that window is starting to close. It's not halfway down, but the window is starting to have a little momentum in a downward fashion. And the reason why I say that, and yet again, after next year, another shakeup happens, but at least for next year, it looks like the Lakers could be the same. The Clippers, they're not losing Kawhi or PG unless, knock on wood, one of them gets injured, but knock on wood that they don't. Denver's a great regular season team. I might not say that if they go to the NBA Finals, but who knows? You had
look, if they 3-1 twice, I don't even know what the fuck you say about that.
You had two teams. Now the Thunder will be interesting, but the other team, the
Thunder
Jazz,
next year.
like the Jazz, they could be a team that takes a step forward, and they were the same record-wise as the Rockets this year. And the two wild cards you have next year, you have the Warriors coming back, which I expect the Warriors to be a top 4 team. The top 4 teams, yet again for me, in any order you want: Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, Nuggets. Like that's your top 4.
Yeah, I agree.
To where that means the Rockets could be 5, but let's say the same thing happens this year, but they're on the other side of it. They could bounce into that 6 or 7. I don't think they fall to 8, but they could be 6 or 7. And to me, that's like, it's a tricky window of without the right coach. Instead of like the one thing we've always looked at the Rockets is, okay, that first round matchup is a easier matchup. Like this year, it was an easier matchup, even though the Thunder
really
pushed them to 7.
Yeah,
we were expecting the Rockets
to
get past them, no problem.
The problem. Yeah. Chris Paul on one side is one of the smartest basketball players to ever live, and a floor general at the highest level.
And Russ is calling.
And you got Russ knowing the entire fucking Billy Donovan playbook. So like that was just a bizarre matchup, and everybody knew everything. And you know what? They're just gonna have to grind it out.
But it's gonna be different if, let's say, they're the 6, like even if they're the 5, if they're the 5 or the 6,
I think they could be the 4. I mean, look, we don't know what Klay Thompson's going to be. We don't know what Steph Curry's health will be like next year.
Even if they're the 4, though,
yeah,
they're still going up against a team probably like, and I say the Nuggets only because like out of the 3, the Nuggets would be the 4th team. But like they're still going up against a team in the first round that is a like Western Conference Finals tier opponent to where like
I think they can beat all of these teams.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying this is such a crucial hire because without the right coach, they can't beat those teams.
Right. Oh, okay. Then I 100% am on the same page with you. This is the make or break year of the Houston Rockets as we know them today. I think they keep it small for one more year, maybe. They might get a center in for the regular season just for some limited minutes.
Yeah.
PJ Tucker, I don't know how long that man can play ageless basketball, but he is. I mean, he's just built. You say Lou Dort's built differently. PJ Tucker was the original built differently.
Yeah.
Like guys don't come like that. So yeah, I could see him picking up a center again for the regular season, rocking it out, winning a shit ton of games, and competing in the playoffs. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen after that point. Depending on that playoff performance, if they want to move on from contracts, they want to make big deal blockbuster trades. Who knows? I think people are too quick to write them off, though.
I feel like if they get bounced,
coach, they're still able to win a championship. I truly feel that way.
If they get bounced in the first round next year, let's say they do, hypothetical. If they get bounced in the first round by any of the top 4 that I listed, Russ is getting traded.
The New York Knicks are going to give them so many picks
for Russell Westbrook.
Either one of them, Russ or James.
But like
the Knicks will just here you go. Oh, 2 first, 3 first.
Is RJ included in that deal?
Well, of course RJ. No, I mean like he's not even an all rookie team. Like why would they even want him?
Yeah, I know, right?
They're gonna. People are acting like both those contracts are albatrosses. They're not. They're both very good contracts because they're very good players.
Yeah.
Now the thing you have to keep in mind is you have to build around those players. You can't just put he's not a Robert Covington. You can't put him on any team and succeed. You can't just pick up Klay Thompson, drop him on a team, and be like, well, we just got a whole lot fucking better for literally no mental thought. Like, we just inserted a Klay Thompson on our team. We're a better team. No. If you're getting a James Harden, if you're getting a Russell Westbrook, you have to build around those guys. You have to scheme offensively and defensively to make sure you're getting the most out of them.
Look at Giannis.
I understand they are not. Giannis, another guy, unique talents in the NBA, absolutely deserve to have that whole system built around them. And I think that both these guys are that level of talent. They're both former MVPs.
Another 2 teams I'm going to throw out here right at the end that are going to be wild cards. One's a wild card just for the playoff picture in general. The Suns. Like they could be one that could be a playoff team if we see
huge
the Suns
step out of them.
If we see the bubble Suns, like
if the Suns stay healthy and don't take drugs, big deal. Turns out that Cam Johnson playing next to DeAndre Ayton is a good combo. Combo.
Or the Blazers, like would they because you had to think about this year. Well, you had to think about this year with Nurkic. Hopefully, like they come back and they're healthy. With Dame, we don't know if he'll be healthy for the start of the season. Yeah. We don't know when the start of the season will be.
Rodney Hood also coming back from an injury.
This was a team that for the last 2 years up to this one was the 3rd best team record-wise in the Western Conference. So, like,
there's rumors, man. There's rumors that the Blazers are looking to shake things up. Yep. Is Melo coming back? Is CJ getting moved for a Wang? Who knows?
Maybe. Like, they're a team that if they come back, though, as is.
But I agree. The West is going to be incredibly competitive in what we saw this year. I expect to see a lot of the same out of these teams next year with all the unknowns with contracts that will be in the following year. I think that everybody's just going to hold tight for the most part.
And moving on, we'll go to another coaching thing. This is a Patron question, Dave. For you guys out there.
We just talk like 30 minutes?
Close to.
40 minutes on that?
Close to.
Jesus.
34 minutes is what my timer is. And basketball's not over.
Great combo.
So this is a Patreon question. If you want to interact with the show in this way, patreon.com/MVPvids, silver and above, get to kind of ask questions that, hey, if we like them, we'll talk about them on the show. And this is an interesting
if we like them qualifier.
There's some,
I'm not going to talk about dumb shit, but like...
There's like... if it's something to where it's like, yes, and there's no conversation, that's what I mean. Like if it's a question that doesn't have conversation to it.
If you want us to rank the best fast food fries out there, that's a conversation we might entertain. I'm just floating that one out
Five Guys
there.
has to be up there, man. Cajun or non-Cajun? Are they different? Are they the same?
The Cajun fries so much better, but the salt content of the normals are so good.
Where do the Arby's curly fries?
Oh shit, that's a see. You know what? You got haters out there who don't love those.
Which, Dave, I actually little segue before we get into this. I forgot to tell you, this was a little bit ago, like last week. I tagged you in a tweet knowing you would not see it.
Thank you.
Because somebody tweeted, where was it? Someone tweeted, literally name one person who has eaten at Arby's. You can't. And I quoted it and said, at Dave_don't_tweet.
Yeah,
Dave has eaten at Arby's.
I have eaten at Arby's. It hates my stomach but I love it.
2 hours, Dave. That's all you get. 2 hours max.
And that's on a good day.
Yeah.
The clock starts the minute you take that first bite of that beef and cheddar.
Dude, I've been noticing Taco Bell. Taco Bell does that for me.
Starting to hit differently?
To where it's like I'm going to need to be by a bathroom. I got like an hour before it hits. And it's not like my
what are your
stomach
thoughts on
hurts.
Taco Bell menu shakeup, man? Like they got rid of potatoes. They fuck with their menu a bunch of times over now.
I just get hard shell tacos.
You mess with your order?
I just get hard shell tacos. That's all I get.
I don't. Inferior tacos.
That's all I get. Well, the fries were never that good.
No, the fries were
like the fucking nacho fries were not good. I got them once and I was like, these are garbage. But the Patreon question, that's what we're talking about.
I guess.
Has to do with Becky Hammon. Like I said, patreon.com/MVPvids. Silver and above, you get to do this too. Here it is. So it's more of a theory. And in the ones, it's let's see, there's a Becky Hammon theory going out there that Becky hasn't signed anywhere because she knows the head coaching job with the Spurs is hers when Pop hangs it up. It also is Pop hasn't retired because he's teaching Becky he's not staying, like he doesn't want to compete anymore. He's staying to mentor Becky. Once he feels like she's ready, boom, I will leave. The job is yours. And then also a sub note to this is that Tim Duncan would come in as an assistant and be more of that player assistant to kind of help out in that sense. What is your thought on this theory? Is it valid? Is it not valid? What are your thoughts?
It sounds like fan fiction.
Okay.
Because it is not valid. I think Becky Hammond would have taken a job if it was presented to her. If she had the opportunity to take the Bucks head coaching job as she interviewed for, I believe she interviewed for the Pacers head coaching job.
The Bulls, apparently.
The Bulls. Oh, okay, cool.
She was on the list. Like, I don't know if she got an interview, but she's been on the list every time someone brought up the Bulls job.
I didn't know if she actually did. That's good. No, I don't think that she is the proclaimed successor to Pop. I think that Tim Duncan is. I'll be honest with you. I think Pop and Tim Duncan have a relationship for 20 years. That's a different level. That's a different level. If Tim Duncan showed interest in coaching, and he did, then he's going to be the guy who is going to be the next head coach of that team. That is, I feel like there's no way Tim Duncan is just going to go to a different team and coach, right? His entire life since age 22, 24, whatever. No, 20. Yeah. I can't do math. Like age 20
since
has been
1997, which would have been what, about, so 30 years ago would have been 90. So 30 minus 7, 23 years.
Yeah, his whole life has been the Spurs. He literally took like half a season off, got bored, and was like, can I hang around still? I want to go home. Like, the man's lived basketball.
He's like that person from college, sports team, band, anything. Or high school. They graduate. They go to college for a little bit. They go to community college, but they're still there. It's like, why are you here? You graduated.
I 100% agree. Understand. And this is not a knock on Becky Hammon, but this is a situation where you have literally like the best power forward of all time who wants to be your head coach, one of the most well-spoken, thoughtful players who literally, I don't know a bad thing about him. The only time he was ejected, he literally laughed at a ref on the bench. He got thrown out of a game. Like, that's the big Knicks against, oh no, Tim Duncan's big mess up. Like, that's not even a thing. It's everybody loves him. So I think Tim Duncan's being groomed for the job. I think Pop still loves to coach, though. I think that the minute Pop doesn't want to be a coach, he's not going to coach. Like, he's not a guy who's going to hang on beyond his time. He's a guy who understands, everything that goes on in the league, but it's also his family. And I think his wife passing has a lot to do with the fact that he's still a coach. Yeah. I think that those guys are his family, and that's where he wants to spend his time, and that's totally okay with me because he's still an excellent head coach. He still got this team to the playoffs, even when they're void of, honestly, a lot of things. Like, they don't have a wing to save their life. DeMar DeRozan is not a 3, and yet he's been playing the 3, and he's looked really good. They've had so many different personnel switches, and they've had so many young guys on that team filling holes, and he just makes it work. And you got to respect Pop for the hell of a job he's doing out there. But I think Becky Hammon is going to take a job somewhere else. It's just a matter of who's that first team to pull the trigger.
Well, and the thing with me is the Pop thing that you brought up is I was going to say that, but in my mind I was like, I don't know if I was going to sound insensitive to where I feel like one of the reasons Pop might, and I don't know Pop, so this is all coming off of my brain. Sure. One of the reasons he might be still coaching is because losing your wife might be one of those things where it's like, well, you know what? I still love doing it. That's probably number one.
That has to be number one.
I still love doing it. And it's number two, I know he's got other family, but it could also be a side of you know what? What do I just go be by myself? I love doing this. I can surround myself with basketball, something that I love. And it might just be I was almost thinking if his wife was still alive, he might have retired by now. Because it's I'm going to just go and be happy with my wife in retirement. Might have changed things a little bit.
I absolutely think it changed things. And I don't think it's insensitive to bring it up. I mean, it's just part of life. And that's when you're with someone for that long. Yeah. His plans were to be with her after he retired. I'm 100% sure. And without her there, he's got long-lasting relationship with that organization. He's been around them he's been there for 20-plus years, just the same as Tim Duncan. Yeah. And it's look, these are the guys and girls who know you best. These are the people who are your family. I've been at my job for 7 years, and that's people I work with are basically my family too at this point. And I can only imagine double that time and with a different level of connection because as a coach, as a mentor, as a teacher of these young kids coming in the NBA, you just have a different relationship. And I think it's awesome for him. And it's a win-win situation where he can stay with them. And even if he walks away from head coaching, he might not walk away from a front office job with them. I don't think he leaves the Spurs organization cold turkey. He's not going to Phil Jackson it, go out to Montana, smoke a shit ton of weed, take some PCP, and be that guy. Oh, you totally stopped. Your Discord is just, it's a real bad picture.
Is it? On my end, it's fine.
No. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. You're back.
Yeah, it went red. You called it. I heard everything you said, though.
I could see you reacting, which was weird.
I heard everything you said. But the one thing that I disagree, and now I'm going to be watching OBS a fucking hawk. Because usually this happens. But the one thing I disagree with you is I feel if the Spurs, Pop is I'm done, I'm going to retire. Let's say that day comes. I feel it would be a slap in the face to Becky Hammon if they hired Tim Duncan over her as the head coach. And the reason why I say that is, yes, I know Tim Duncan has a history with the Spurs. Yep. But at this point, Becky Hammon does too. She's been coaching, assistant coach since 2014, and she's had more experience as an assistant coach than Tim Duncan. That's why it's
and player development too.
And player development.
She's been excellent with her cheerleaders, with the guys on the end of the bench. All those guys coming up, she's worked with all of them, so she has a great rapport.
To where I feel Now, if they did do that and they went with Tim Duncan, do I think Becky Hammon would get mad and publicly say something about it? No. She'd be professional and work with Tim Duncan.
I think she'd be mad. That's what I'm saying. Like her interviewing other places is not just practice. She is interested in head coaching. Whoever wants to give her the first opportunity, the right opportunity is what matters.
The one thing I hope, though, is like what you said, though. Gives her the right opportunity. I hope that people and teams aren't just interviewing her because we're in 2020. It's like, hey, look, we interviewed a woman. Woo.
Yeah.
That is not how you make change. And I know that it's a
Discord again. We're back. It blipped for a second. We're good.
You can hear me and see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's not like, and it's also on the other side of like how I mentioned with like the election in 2016 is there were so many people that I talked to like that were Hillary supporters. And I'd be like, well, tell me one thing that you like about her. And the first thing they would say well, it'd be our first female president. No, that's important, but tell me something else that's not that, because
she's not Donald Trump is the right answer.
Well,
that's the platform Joe Biden's been running.
This was even before.
I'm
Donald
fucking
Trump.
with you. I understand your point.
This was when it was Bernie Sanders and her, to where it's like, do I want a like female head coach eventually in sports? Yes, but yet again, you also don't want it forced. But also, you don't want it to be just an empty gesture of like you're interviewing her just to save face and have a PR move. With this theory, I would put money in buying it because it makes sense to me. It makes sense that this is the Spurs are kind of like.
That's my question: is why interview then? If you are in writing, you're like, hey, here, as soon as Pop is ready, you are the person. And I understand. I'd be with you. Like the whole if Tim Duncan jumps her in seniority, as far as he's going to become the head coach. He's been the assistant coach for how long? That would be a massive talking point. But I understand why they went that direction.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's a slap in the face. I don't think it's sexist. I think it's organizational loyalty to Tim Duncan outweighed them as far as values, and I don't know what they're like as far as coaches. If Tim Duncan's as soft spoken as he was on the court, then maybe he's not a head coach. Maybe he's just going to be an assistant coach for a while. And I'll understand the game from a different point of view, The
reason why I think that she is interviewing, it's either one of two things. The one that I think it is that these thoughts might be going on in the front office's head, but no one's talked about it. Like Becky and Pop aren't on this. Like everyone's on the same page. This is how we're going to do it. Like that nothing has been said about it, but the thought has been brought up in the front office of like, hey, if Pop retires, would like we would love to have Becky come in and do it. And the reason why she's going on interviews is because she doesn't know that's the plan. She doesn't know that's in their future plans to where it's well, I want to be a head coach. I'm going to interview for these jobs. Or it's the other side where the plan is laid out, but because Pop doesn't know how many years he's going to be coaching, she might have like said, let's say they had a meeting and they're like, this is our plan. She might have been like, great, I'm all for it.
But we're talking 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023.
But they probably didn't give her a day of like, Pop is like, this is when I'm done, to where she's probably would have said to them, I would have, if that was a situation of like, I'm cool with that, but I'm letting you know, because there's no certainty of when that will happen. If there's a job that's, I think, right for me, I'm going to go ahead and interview for it.
100%.
And I think that the Spurs and her, if that was, I think it's the other way of none of this has been talked about and only brought up, if any, in the front office meetings of like they probably have a board that's hidden behind a wall of like what to do when Pop retires, and they have a list.
They've got a Google Excel doc sheet, whatever you want to call it. Like they don't
have a big whiteboard wall, Dave.
I gotta.
Yeah, no big whiteboard wall, Dave.
Dude, that's what I need to do in my room. That's what I realized. My office, I've got this giant wall like on the other side of it. I could just put up a giant whiteboard. And that would be amazing for all my draft stuff that I just got too many thoughts in the head. Can't write them down because I got nothing.
But yeah, just my thing is front office has probably talked about it, but there's no plan. That's why she's interviewing for these jobs, because I think she does want to be a head coach. She wouldn't be interviewing for them if she did not. And that's just how we go. Any final thoughts with this, Dave?
No, I think we kind of hit it from all angles. I feel pretty good about it. I hope our patron feels good about our answer. It was a good discussion.
Well, Dave, let's move into a segment we love to do here on MVP Sports Live. These are the dampest of dudes, the soggiest of shooters, the moistest of men, and sometimes the mistiest of misses. These are our wet boys, where we give a nod to players who kind of popped off the day before or sometimes the weekend before. And how it works is Dave gives a wet boy, I give a wet boy, and then the patrons at patreon.com /MVP vids, silver and above. They also give a wet boy as well. So if you want to join in on the fun, become a patron, silver tier and above. Dave, I'm going to kick it off to you like I always do. Who's your wet boy for September 15th, 2020?
You say 19? You were going to say 19?
19 because in my head, I was like, shit.
What year is it?
No.
What year?
Because I was thinking like, shit, did I preload those wet boys? We'll find out. I thought I did.
You promised.
We'll find out.
My wet boy today is the guy on the Steelers who stepped up huge in a time of need. James Conner goes down, ineffective, and then injured officially. Benny Snell Jr., big boy.
I was waiting to see if you remembered his name. When you said the guy on the Steelers, I'm like,
I was stalling. I'm like,
I ain't putting it up until he says the name.
I dance around the name until it ticks in my head, which is a long time sometimes, and sometimes it never comes. Yes. It just doesn't happen.
Yes.
That's the way my brain works. But yeah, Benny Snell Jr., excellent runner. Dude goes downhill hard. Credit to him. He looks like a great backup running back, perhaps starting running back. That Connor contract, we'll see what happens with that now going forward. But Benny Snell Jr. gotta be one of the highest ads in fantasy football this week. Be looking forward to see what his situation looks like going forward. But he looked great out there. Credit to him.
Yeah, and I mean that's most of the wet boys from football we're gonna come from the Steelers.
I tried to pick the entire Steelers defense. I was told that's not a thing.
Yeah, here's the thing with wet boys though. Because they're individual players, I know like for fantasy it'd be the defense, but like if someone has 5 sacks, you can pick an individual.
If they have 5 sacks,
player.
True, but it was a team effort to really just fuck over the Giants offense.
Yeah, good point. Or like the offensive line, like maybe they're a cohesive unit.
Yeah, maybe a dry dude to Saquon Barkley's running game. I don't know.
I think it's more dry dude to fucking Joe Judge, if anything.
No,
I don't think it's Saquon's problem.
What do you expect of it? Saquon could not get the ball forward.
Is it a Saquon problem though, or a team problem? I think it's a team
offensive
problem.
Line. Yeah, bad offensive line,
which is
problem, but
Saquon's fault.
He couldn't run the ball. He's got the bad stats.
For mine, I'm going to the pond.
Who you got? Oh,
going to the pond, Dave. Ducks on the pond, and I am going Dallas Stars with mine. Dennis, I'm going to fuck up this last name. I had it and then I lost it. Gurinov, basically game-winning goal to send the Stars to the Stanley Cup Finals in overtime. Power play goal. I looked at the stats and he only had 1 goal, 1 assist. His plus-minus was 0. So it wasn't a net gain or
goal. Is that a GWG? Is that a game-winning goal?
GWG, and it was a GWG that sent them to the ship, Dave, knocking off last year's Stanley Cup champion, the Golden Knights, in 5 games.
Very nice. I think that's absolutely worthy. Then it's clutchness, man. It's those intangibles. Mm-hmm. He's got them. He was able to come through when the Dallas Stars needed him.
I will say though, there's a part of me that really wanted to give it to Trevor Bauer. Either Trevor Bauer or Danielson Lamet of the Padres, because Lamet had 11 Ks, and it's the last 2 starts he's had 11 Ks each. And then Bauer had 11 Ks as well in his game. So they were 2 pitching performances, but I had to go with the Stanley Cup, going to the Cup. And we'll see tonight if the Lightning, let me see, are the Lightning up 3-1? I think they are up 3-1.
I do not follow hockey.
Yeah. So the Lightning are up 3-1. If the Lightning beat the Islanders tonight, we'll have Tampa Bay and Dallas in the Stanley Cup final. But Dave, the patron wet boy, they are not going hockey. They are not going baseball. No. They're not going basketball, obviously.
Because there were no games.
They're going football, and they're going with Juju Smith-Schuster.
It's my wide receiver.
6 catches, 69 yards. Nice. 2 touchdowns, had himself a game, and probably had the celebration of the game when he laid down on his stomach with like the cute little cutesy face looking at the pylon cam.
Yeah.
Just
He
awesome.
knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing out there. Yeah, Juju, excellent game. I mean, he's a fantastic wide receiver. He does it all. Been watching the kid since he was in college. Great pick, patrons. Great pick. Pittsburgh Steelers offense is going to be beastly out there. Quick update on scoring. Miami Heat 31, Boston Celtics 36.
Okay, so Boston's up right now?
7-13 in the second, yes.
Do you remember, trivia question, Dave?
Oh?
Do you remember what college Juju went to? Because I had to look it up even.
Why is it blanking?
You should know this.
It's USC, isn't it?
It is USC.
Yeah, I was like, I can picture him in the freaking like crimson jersey right now. Like,
yeah.
I was like,
because like for some reason I thought it was South Carolina, but that's Alshon.
Oh yeah, no.
Alshon was South Carolina.
No,
I'm trying to think any other like wide receivers that I can think off the top of my head. Like, boom. Remember watching like Percy Harvin, Florida. Remember
Randy Moss.
him? Randy Moss, Marshall. Marshall.
Yeah.
But Dave, let's end the show with some quickie topics, not as long as our NBA topics.
Yeah, holy shit.
The first one is kind of something like we have 2 coronavirus stories. One positive, one not so positive. And the positive one is that MLB, I gotta give you the respect. You finally did something smart. I'm clapping for you because Dave, the MLB has agreed on a bubble system for the playoffs.
Hey.
How it's gonna work is the 1, 2, 3, the 8 wild card series are gonna happen in the higher seeds series or higher seeds city. Those will be best of 3 series in like Chicago and different cities. But how they have it mapped out is the NLDS will be in one series will be in Arlington, Texas, so the Rangers. The other series will be in Houston, Texas, so the Astros.
Texas is definitely the place we want to host things at this time.
Not the best plan, but at least they have a bubble set. Same thing. The bubble for the NBA is in Florida.
Is it a bubble though? With baseball, is it a lockdown area where they're not allowed in and out?
So the NLDS, NLDS Series 1 is in Arlington. Right. Only 2 teams there. It's a bubble. Then the other one is
a bubble means no one in, no one out kind of situation. That's being just saying we're staying put in one city, not going back and forth 4 times is different.
I'm gonna pull up the article, Dave.
Like if they're actually like you're stuck in your hotel, you're stuck on a campus. No one else comes in. There's no interactions with anyone outside of the bubble.
Because the article read bubble setting.
It could be a bubble as far as we're not leaving the city.
So let's see.
A bubble as far as the NBA did.
No,
I'm being an asshole here.
I did not want this rocket story. So I put open link, and the ESPN app's like, you want to talk rockets, right? I'm like, no, we already did that. I mean, this is from ESPN, Dave. The World Series will be played entirely at the Texas Rangers' new ballpark in Arlington, Texas. As part of an agreement finalized Tuesday, the Division Series, League Championship Series, and World Series will be part of a bubble designed to minimize exposure to the coronavirus, which limited the regular season to 60 games for each club. The best of 3 first rounds for the postseason expanded from 10 to 16 this year will be at the homes of the top-seeded teams. The World Series will be at Globe Life Park in Arlington, a retractable roof stadium with artificial turf that opened this year adjacent to the Rangers' old ballpark. The American League Championship Series will be in San Diego's Petco Park. The National League will be at Globe Life Park. The AL Divisional Series will be at San Diego and the LA Dodgers stadiums. The NLDS will be at Globe Life and then Minute Maid, which is in Houston. So they're going to have 4 bubbles for the DS. Yep. Then that goes down to 2 bubbles, which one's in Arlington, one is in LA, I think is what they said. No, San Diego. So San Diego and Arlington, and then boom. the other one, like the World Series is in Arlington. And I think what the plan, to me, looks like is basically the series that's in Arlington, they're just getting, like, that winner is just getting added a team. So, like, I would think quarantine for a little bit. All right, you're good to go. But yet again, is the MLB going to do that? Are they going to quarantine when a new team comes into this bubble? Because, like, if I'm in the series that starts in the DS and I'm in Arlington, it's basically a new team getting added to my bubble if I win all the way to the World Series.
I'm going to stop here. Do they know what a bubble setting is? Like, do they define what that means, or is it just the fact that we're not going to travel from back and forth between cities? The games will be played at this stadium, that stadium, that stadium, and that's it.
Off days were eliminated for the Division Series and League Championship Series, which will stress pitching and put emphasis on deeper rotations. The two traditional off days were retained for the World Series. That's all the article says.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure by bubble they just mean they're not moving cities between games. I don't believe they're actually doing a bubble as far as it's a lockdown area with no one in, no one out, as the NBA did. So it's better than the alternative, but it's still not as good as it could be, is my opinion. Yeah, that's where I'm landing on that one. I appreciate you reading through the article. I got
more. So I'm looking here. It says under an exception wanted by the Players Association, any player who either lives by himself, lives with a spouse or domestic partner who is pregnant, or has special medical needs documented by a physician, or is living with children may quarantine at home during the transition period, with a provision that the MLB will not approve a large number of requests to quarantine at home. So, like, that to me suggests that there is going to be a quarantine period between each of them. AL teams in mathematical contention are to start a transition period on September 22nd. The NL teams the following day. Up to 28 active roster players, 12 taxi squad players, and 50 additional personnel ranging from bullpen catchers to front office staff must remain at the team traditional hotel or travel with the team on the road. That's what it says.
So it sounds like it's somewhere in between then. It's not quite as bad as I was making it out to be, but it's also not as locked down as the NBA. Is anything
going to be as perfect as the bubble in the NBA?
I mean, the NBA bubble, basically perfect minus Daniel House, Patrick Beverly, and who was the other guy who got T-Ross.
Terrence Ross talking about it on Pat McAfee.
I love it. Like, certain hotel, certain lake, very easy to get people in and out of the bubble. I'm just saying.
And Daniel House listened, and he was like, "Hey, man."
I think Daniel House was with the tester who was already in the bubble.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, he just was like, taking.
Oh, and you also had Dwight Howard. Didn't bring someone in, but when the bubble first started, he was going off on Twitter or Instagram or something about vaccines being an anti-vaxxer.
Him, Kyrie, all of them.
And people were like, "You do know COVID vaccine? Take that shit, right? You take that shit. You take it good." And then Dave. The little bit of college football news that is related to COVID.
Hit us up with that. That's some real good shit.
So the first one, while I check to see if there's an update on the second one as we've been recording, LSU head coach Ed Orgeron, most of team has contracted coronavirus. LSU football coach Ed Orgeron said Tuesday that most of his team has contracted the COVID-19.
The COVID-19.
Not all our players, but most of our players have caught it.
That's far too out. I can understand the words you're saying. You got it's all one word.
I think that hopefully they catch it. They don't catch it all, and hopefully they get out of games. I'm trying to do my best at Georgia. Brandon doesn't better. Said hopefully that once you catch it, you don't get it again. I'm not a doctor. I think they have a 90-day window. So most of the players that have caught it, we do feel like they'll be eligible for games. Huh?
I mean, this is just... What did you think was going to happen? We put college kids back on a campus. Did you think anyone was going to take it seriously? Did you think frat parties would stop happening? No. None of that happened. So, of course, people have the fucking virus. Of course, these college kids all have coronavirus. No shit. This is what we said was going to happen. Nothing changed between 6 months ago and now. Still the same coronavirus. It's just college football has to happen though, because otherwise America. So we're just gonna say, hey, whatever long-term consequences come with COVID.
And Dave,
congratulations, you got to play football though.
And Dave, breaking news. Breaking news. This is from the Detroit News. The Big Ten finalizes football schedule, but testing is holding up final decision. The Big Ten has approved a framework of an 8-game conference-only football schedule, ideally starting the weekend of October 17th, but possibly October 24th, even as one chancellor early Tuesday poured cold water on the idea of reinstating fall sports. A source close to the situation who asked to remain anonymous because they aren't authorized to speak publicly. That's great. That's great. I'm not supposed to give you this information, but I'm going to give you this information about the conference plans. Told the news, the Detroit News, about the 8-game plan, which if started the 17th or the 24th of October, would allow the Big Ten time to be eligible for the college football playoff. The Big Ten championship game would be held on December 19th. The College Football Playoff Committee announces its 4 teams on the following day. Dave, I am saddened by this news. I am deeply saddened by this news. Are you sad? You're
disappointed?
No, I'm sad.
I feel disappointed.
I feel like people are idiots, and I'm going to go on a rant here. And if you disagree with me, I almost want to say if you disagree with me, you're one of the idiots. That's what I want to say. Because I'm a Big Ten fan. I'm an Illinois fan. And I get it. The players are tweeting, let us play. But in this situation, you don't know what's good for yourself. That's how I feel. I feel that, yes, you want to play because you love this game. But when does your own health overstate a game that you play? And it's like... the thing that irritated me too is we live in Illinois, Dave, and there were Illinois beat writers who were tweeting about how, so our governor, J.B. Pritzker, was asked about high school sports and the surrounding Midwest starting their seasons. And he basically said, if they want to put their families and children at risk, that's their decision. Basically, we ain't going to do that here, Chief. And basically just to see the outpour of people say that Pritzker isn't letting you do what you want. One tweet I saw said that if I had a kid that was in high school, I'd move out of Illinois, if they were good at sports. And it's when did sports overcome, when did it become more important than being on this earth? Because you only get one, people. You only get one life. You don't get 2. You don't get 9. We're not cats. You get one life. And if you lose that life, you're done. Is a game more important than this?
Depends on the religion you believe in.
I don't think so. I don't think a game is more important than living your life. And I know there's people out there that are like, oh, well, it's a fear monger. The media is a fear. They're creating fear. It's not that bad. No, this is bad. You shouldn't be afraid of it. You should take precautions. But in this situation, playing a game that doesn't mean anything in the end of the day is not more important than living your life and being alive. That's what I feel like. I think it's stupid if they start football again. We've already seen the train wrecks of the Big 12. We've already seen the train wrecks of the ACC where it's basically Virginia Tech got cases. And then it was well, if we don't have 8 teams, we can't continue our season. Now you see LSU with most cases. Do you want that to be Big Ten schools? Do you? And if you do, you're part of the problem. Rant over. Oh, Dave cut. They heard everything from me, Dave. They heard because my mic was plugged right in.
Nice.
And that was basically the end of my rant. I am done.
Perfect.
I have got everything out.
Perfect. I mean, that's good to hear.
They're idiots. Anyone.
Yeah, it's good to hear it on this side. I feel like that's the speech I gave about a month ago, a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
And the big thing is we literally just looked it up today. It's we're up to 195,000 deaths.
We'll be
in America.
We'll be at 200 by Thursday at the most.
Oh, wow. That's
you and I pointed out last Wednesday we had 1,100. So
Yeah,
what
I
if
mean,
we have
it's-
close to that on Tuesday and Wednesday? Okay, maybe Friday.
I mean, yeah, we're approaching that dumb number of 200,000 deaths in America, which is just impressive. And we don't know the long-term impacts of this disease, and we don't know anything about how that will affect people's lives going forward. So yeah, it seems like a bit much to risk my life to play a sport that means literally nothing.
At this point, the Pac-12 is the only one that has any sense.
Responsible adults.
Because I have not heard any, the only things I've heard out of the Pac-12 is we're updating testing. We're working on that right now. Nothing about reinstallating a season.
Installing
a season, whatever it is. I'm so
restarting, whatever you want to go.
I'm so fucking hot-headed about it to where it's like, not even hot-headed. It's not even the word I want to use because that just sounds like I'm going off to go off. But it's just like, I feel like nobody's taking this seriously. We're not going to take it seriously.
People just decided that it doesn't matter how many people die. I want to go back to living the way I used to. Well, and that's the dumb thing with America. We're like, death count, what? We don't care. And if it doesn't hit me, I don't care. And even if it does hit me, I'm in a pretty good range of being able to survive this disease. I don't know what's going to happen in the long term, but I might not die. There's a better chance I might not die.
And I'll put it in this case to maybe speak to my own fan base. For the ones that are in the Illinois fan base that I've seen going against the COVID procedures and stuff. If you are somebody that is excited for this season of Illini basketball and want Illini basketball to happen, but then you want the football season to happen, you're the problem. Because if the football season happens and there are more cases there, that can implicate the basketball season. Because it implicates schools, it implicates kids, things can cross, teams can get contaminated. That's a problem. So, yet again, I'm speaking to my own fan base here. If you want to see Ayo Dosunmu, Miller, Corbello, Kofi go off this year like they're going to, let's take the precautions now. Let's take them now. I don't think there needs to be a football season. You were doing the right thing. Yep. And then you completely just... you went against it.
I shoot the bed.
The last thing, Dave, a little bit of local sports news for us, but it's kind of a greater 2020 issue. As did my Discord cut. It cut again? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was permafroze doing this.
I see you. Little bit of local news, but it's really more of a greater issue because of what's going on in our political climate. Apparently this is from robertfederer.com, but it's also been curated by CBS Sports.
Okay.
That the Score has fired Dan McNeil for degrading tweet about ESPN reporter. Dan McNeil, for those of you who are outside of Chicago, is he does the McNeil and Parkin show for the Score. And basically it was he took a picture from Maria Taylor while she was on the sideline of the Steelers-Giants game, and he said this tweet: NFL sideline reporter or a host for the AVN annual awards presentation. And basically he's referring to, is she an NFL sideline reporter or is she a host for an award show about pornographic material? And it has looked like he is fired for this. Another thing that was interesting, because robertfederer.com is the only one to have written anything about this besides people curating
Yahoo Sports
that he has.
I reported on it. USA Today reported on it.
Because I saw on Twitter I'm assuming it's just a fan of the Score. They basically had a tweet that was if it was a screenshot.
That's been reported it.
Yeah. So it was a screenshot of the McNeil and Parkins Twitter account. And the picture was the same, the bio was the same, but the title was changed to the Danny Parkins Show instead of the McNeil and Parkins Show. This is something that I think, obviously I saw someone that we both know, Dave, used to be a part of MVP, Mike Rankin. He's even had tweeted about it. This is just something I wanted to bring up, just let's just stop being stupid. Like, we no longer live in an age where edgelord comedy is okay. And that's what this is. Was like, I don't know Dan McNeil. Maybe he did like mean something by it. I don't know. I read it at first, and my first thought was, what's AVN? Like, what's that? Do I have to look this up? And it's like, looking at the picture, I get where he was trying to be. Like, I roll my eyes even saying it, where it's like, ha ha ha, she's wearing leather. And it's like, it's just one of those things where it's like, can we not? Like, it wasn't even that funny of a tweet. Like, and I know that the funny, if it was funny, that wouldn't make it any better. But it's just something, Dave, to where it's like, when are we going to learn? When are people that have jobs going to learn that if you do stuff like this, consequences are going to happen? And I know, Dan...
Yeah, you're allowed to say whatever you want, but that doesn't mean there's not consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's free speech, but yet again, like, what you say might have something behind it that comes. So, yet again, this is just a reminder, don't be stupid. For the young kids out there watching, don't tweet something now thinking it's funny, because it's going to come back and bite you in the butt.
True.
Because
in positive news,
yeah,
tie game, 55-55 at half.
I saw it was tied while we were talking about the football stuff. But I'm going to say it again because it happened again. That's going to do it for MVP Sports Live today. Thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure to check us out. We're on Twitch, twitch.tv/MVPvids every Monday through Wednesday. But we are also on YouTube at MVP Sports. Go ahead and support us, patreon.com/MVPvids. You can also support us by throwing us a sub on Twitch and get the same rewards as somebody who is a bronze tier on Patreon. And then last but not least, join the Discord. Link down below on YouTube, !Discord if you're in Twitch chat. Games Live will come up. We're going to disconnect. I'm going to go reset my router because, you know, that's always fun. That this happens. Maybe I do have to reinstall OBS. I don't know what the problem is because I don't lose internet completely. It's just Discord and OBS that are affected by it. But we're going to do that. Soapy and I will be back. So either stay on, follow, you'll get the notification, join the Discord, notification will be there. Follow us on Twitter, MVP_vids. The notification will be there too. Soapy and I will be live for games. Dave and I will be back tomorrow for more sports news. That's going to do it for us. And as always, have a good day, everybody.